Okay, I'm gonna get right into this only because I don't really have a lot of time today because I'm participating in an event where I'm gonna be interviewed by some people. I'm looking forward to that. So I was sifting through and I'm like, oh, okay, what can I do like now? I don't really want to try to draw anything I haven't drawn before, and I said I was going to do an episode today and tomorrow, and I've been kind of taking it easy and also working on some other projects that are just taking up a great deal of time. When I have more information, I'll post them, but for now, let's start drawing. Okay, so the first lucky villain that we're going to draw is perhaps the most probably my personal favorite, the Ref. Now, the Ref sort of has something of a hot dog shaped face to a degree, or maybe, like a sausage shaped face. But here's the thing. He's got something of a long chin. And you got this thing going in all different directions. Similar kind of shape. His cheeks, what's going to be his nose. Excuse me just a second. What's going on? We're going to draw a big circle for the tip of the nose and a little one at the base of it, so this way we can try to connect the two of them, make something that kind of stands out, no pun intended. He's got a bit of an overbite, as you can see, and those cheeks are wide for a reason. But we're still defying the laws of anatomy, because why not? The Ref is sort of an unabashed, I hate to use the phrase, bastard child of animator Rod Scribner, who was best known as an animator on the Looney Tunes cartoons of the 30s and 40s. So, that's what I got so far. Of course, the neck will come down. You want to try to line up all of your shapes. Let me do that again. This is more or less the same kind of shapes I've seen Milton Knight use for certain characters, particularly when he designed Dr. Robotnik for the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog animated series. You could also say that at least the base shape of the ref's head, in addition to being either a sausage or a pickle, is maybe the sole of a shoe. But he's certainly no pushover. Throw an ear in there. We'll worry about the hair in just a minute. We want to get the headband in there, which kind of keeps his somewhat unruly hair under control. Now let's shrink this down a little bit. Gotta give him a collar. And some shoulders. We'll do more of that a little bit. For right now, I think I'm going to focus mainly on headshots because my interview is at 4:30. Yeah, I certainly left a lot of time for this, didn't I? But also, we have a visitor, a dog, so she's been taking up quite a bit of our time. We were watching Hamilton earlier on Disney Plus. Oh yeah, and we're going to start drawing the hair, but try not to go too crazy with, you know, the number of hairs, I guess, or the rows of hair. It's not like the ref has dreadlocks or anything, but at the same time, the more you try to rough out, the more you're going to have to finish. Like, I mean, if you just decided, okay, I'm going to give the ref, you know, like, I mean, it's hair, it's not grass. Although, to be fair, there could be about as many hairs on your head as there are in your backyard. So I'll give him like 5. And we'll also give him 2 down here. You want to try to keep them within the headband. You can also, if you wanted to have them lean over, just make sure that, you know, you kind of even it out. More often than not, I keep them above the headband. There was a time throughout the ref's design history where he was bald, but he looked a little too much like Mr. Clean, so I abandoned that concept. He was also at one point from Texas, but I opted instead to sort of build his personality off of that of Vincent Price. And more recently, within the last 5 years, a rather obscure silent film comedian, Marcel Perez. Now, the ref is, to a degree, unabashedly a cartoon character. He has a short temper, at least with human beings, not so much with machines, because he knows he can control them. I wasn't meaning to do that. If you have trouble lining stuff up from the left, try from the right, and vice versa. This is something that I still, to this day, I'm working on. Almost like it looked like I gave him a chipped tooth there. Now, this is going to be one of those where I guess we sort of give him gums. The ref is a psychopath. For all intents and purposes, he's a very dangerous psychopath. He loves a good challenge. He lives for challenges. There is almost no challenge whatsoever that the ref will not take on. You gotta make sure to line up the bottom gums with the top gums. That may sound redundant because I did say he has an overbite, but at a certain point, you know, if it looks right, just keep going with it. If it doesn't, well, you know, you erase it, you undo, whatever you gotta do. Now, I had a little problem here. I didn't really account for this, because it almost looks like If I were to just draw the chin like so, it almost looks like the rest of his face can kind of fall off. So we're going to cheat with the inking, give him a bit of a wider chin. Yeah, that looks like it can kind of support the rest of him. If you look at your own chin, you kind of have a little indentation right about here. It's very important to note. Cheeks. Love. Make sure to get those folds in there. Work on inking the eyes. This is something that I never really rough out, because I've thought about changing them. The grease paint under his eyes. That was a trademark of the ref, I believe, right from the very beginning. I'd have to dig out some of my earliest ref sketches, but that's one thing that's been constant about him. He almost made an animation appearance back in 2005's All in a Day's Work, Luckyzilla animated short. But he was dropped from that because I felt I needed to develop him a little bit more. And I'm still kind of developing him to a degree, but he's made appearances in many issues of Luckyzilla, as well as the strip. Okay, we're doing good on time. Second. Sometimes things won't line up exactly, especially if you're drawing digitally and you have smoothness settings in effect, like I do. And one of the reasons why is because before COVID, whenever I would be going into the city for whatever reason, and I found some time to do some comics work or some animation work, I would have the smoothing settings in place for when I was on the subway or on the LIRR, and you know, I mean, things are bumping around like crazy, so you gotta kind of keep some balance. There's Adam's apple in there. Stripes for his uniform, because he is a referee after all. Lucky has changed the direction of those stripes a few times. Because, like I said, the ref is a dangerous criminal. Teeth white. The ref has yellow eyeballs. Why is that? I don't know. I guess it just looked cool when I was redesigning him for the as of yet to be completed animated Lucky pilot. It's still in production. I have no idea when the hell it's going to be done. So please don't ask me. Does it for the ref. Looks pretty good there. Next we're going to draw Quackery. Ovals on this guy. He's a chubby interdimensional imp. Beaks. Beaks are always interesting. As of this past week, Quackery is the most prolific of the Luckyzilla villains with, let me see, a grand total of 47 appearances in the comic strip. And we can't forget the Teedly Pops. Those are very, very important. And the tail. It's a story that we did in 2017 called The Stooge There Was, which was the first story strip Quackery appeared in, where he is out grave robbing, and Lucky catches him in the act, and he inadvertently awakens Shemp Howard, one of the founding members of the Three Stooges, from the dead. It was totally unauthorized, but boy, was it a lot of fun. this, obviously, because I want to get this done. I mean, I have drawn this character so many times. Like I said, he's appeared in almost 50 strips. And with that, he's appeared in, let me see, he's appeared in a bunch of the books. He appeared in Luckyzilla #4, which reprinted his first adventure in the weekly strips. And he was co-created by myself and Ed Giassen. Ed doesn't really work with me on the strip anymore, but great guy. He was very much instrumental in the creation. The very existence of quackery depended on, you know, his initial suggestion that we go for more of a modern Lucky villain. Because times change, and how many times can you have, you know, a supervillain rob a bank or, you know, take over the world? Maybe they want something, you know, more than that. Like in Quackery's case, he wants to find out who he was before this, with him being this impish, three-eyed platypus monster. Originally, he was going to be a little person of sorts, but you know, we're not really looking to get hate mail or anything. I forget what other animals we suggested for him to be, but I mean, almost immediately, platypus came to mind. During at least that part of the process, we didn't have a name for the character. We just knew that he was going to be something of an identity thief. And when we agreed that the character would be a platypus, I'd say maybe within an hour or a day, it was very, very quick. We came up with quackery, which is a word that I remember in health class in 9th grade. There's unfortunately a lot of that in the medical field. Sometimes you don't hear about it because some people have very good lawyers. But the biggest thing about quackery is that he has no idea who he is. In fact, I have no problem admitting that we don't know what quackery's origin is. We haven't written it yet. We've entertained the idea, although at the same time, you know, I decided I really want to keep it as open as possible. If you think about it, the Joker has existed for 80 years. And there have been many different variations on his origin as well. But from what I've read in the comics, from interviews with the Joker's creators, it almost seems like they've kept it as open as possible. I mean, in a way, I get it, because how do you keep coming up with story ideas for a character after 80 years? I mean, you try doing it. going so fast with the color? Well, over here in Adobe Illustrator, I have all the colors that I use for each of the principal characters in Luckyzilla comics. I have my own swatch palette for them. Because, I mean, if I have to spend time, you know, trying to figure out, oh, what color is this guy, or what color is his hat, what color are his pants, if I have to keep doing that over and over again, strip after strip after strip, I am wasting so much time that I could be using, you know, drawing more strips. And that's another reason why I've been able to put out a new strip every week for the past 246 consecutive weeks. As of tomorrow, it's going to be 247. Alright, that's quackery. Let's see. Where are we time-wise? Like I said, it was going to be a short episode. I think next, he's a lot simpler than I give him credit for. Royal Flush, who is going to star in the next Lucky Story strip. Now, Royal Flush is a giant toilet from outer space. He is the ruler supreme of the planet Poopeter, which is right behind Jupiter. And what's Jupiter made out of? Gas. So you figure the last part of that joke out. He was a gag character initially that appeared on the cover of Luckyzilla number 2. I had absolutely no intention of featuring him in anything past that, but it became the first issue of the series to completely sell out. So I was under a little bit of pressure, personally, to give this character something to do. I've noticed that I draw characters with very distinctive eyebrows sometimes. I have watched a lot of silent films, in particular some from Germany, the expressionist cinema, as it were. And there are some characters, particularly the character of Knock in the 1922 film Nosferatu, that has these out-of-control eyebrows. I mean, there are those that tell me that I have some pretty out-of-control eyebrows. I mean, almost every time that I go to a barber, they start trying to trim my eyebrows because, you know, they have in their head, oh yeah, we can't have this, and I'm like, leave it. He's got plungers for hands and feet. There's more to him than just being a giant toilet from outer space. He does have an origin story. I am not sharing it at this point in time, but we'll get there. Royal Flush himself is not exactly the most formidable foe for Lucky. I mean, there's nothing particularly threatening about him. He's got his own private army, the Royal Boweltalion, who appeared in one of the interstate Lucky strips of the same title, the Royal Boweltalion. Like we were drawing the ref, we're going to do the same kind of thing for his crown. He does wear a crown, let's be real. What's a king without a crown? The gooseneck limbs, we're going to ink in a little bit. There are some guys and girls in the comics groups that I'm a part of on Facebook that draw hair so beautifully. I want to be like them. I just don't give myself enough time to practice, so I'm going to be making time. Because I'm jealous. You know, some people, this stuff comes naturally, and for others, you gotta learn it. It can be learned. You know, I did weeding in the garden over the weekend and beforehand. It was not easy, and it was not pleasant. I got very, very dirty. And I also made a lot of mistakes. But it was necessary. It had to be done. And the garden looks incredible. Maybe one of these days, I'll take you guys out there. Drezen draws barbecue or something. Have that weird feeling like you kind of wish you could see through your hand so you wouldn't make as many mistakes? I have that feeling all the time. Why can't I just see through my hand? Now, originally, we had RF with, you know, the more traditional, whatever these things are. But I took it away because when I had him perched on top of his throne, as it were, it just kind of looked better. So I said, to hell with that base at the bottom. So, contrary to that song, it is not all about the bass. I know what the song is referring to, but I just couldn't resist. Yes, even I make mistakes at drawing my own characters. That's how you learn, that's how you find new things out about your characters. think RF is going to be the last character we're going to draw on here, which will make this the shortest live episode in the history of Drezen Draws. Yes, I know. Sometimes I forget about the techniques that I've learned. It happens. Got his limbs down here, got his plungers. This is something I am going to fudge a little bit. There we go. Okay, maybe this isn't going to be the shortest live episode in Double D history, but certainly one of the shorter ones. Tomorrow's episode of Drezen Draws, I haven't decided if it's going to be a voting episode or not. So stay tuned for that. If I finish with my secret project this week, then the schedule will be more on track. Makes for a little less data when saving. There we go. I could try to do Hellhound, but I don't want to spread myself too thin. So, yeah, there we go. That's our 93rd episode of Drezen Draws. If you like what you see here, you can commission me. You can hire me for birthday parties and corporate events. Of course, yes, we do that through Zoom because social distancing. We also have board game available, Luckyzilla the game. Still in plentiful supply. Buy it. It's awesome. You'll love it. The kids will love it too. Of course they will. Kids are wonderful, wonderful people. Give me a second. Alright. And otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Cat. So, till then, stay drawsome.